We are here in Atlanta with Rick DeMedeiros, who is a personal injury attorney and workers' comp specialist, runs a small law firm in Alpharetta. What do people need to know about Rick?
There's lots of lawyers out there. There's lots of people that are marketing, trying to get clients. I'd say the one thing is that we really do care about service. I think I said earlier that we try to be more servicey, which I know is not really a word. We're really in a service business, and it's about providing a product and hopefully a good result at the end. And sometimes you can't really have an impact or really be able to guarantee a result in the legal field, but if you can at least during that process, you do have control over process and the service you provide. That's to me the important thing in what we do.
And we're here at DigiMarCon in Atlanta, and Rick and I were just on stage looking at his digital presence and showing why Rick and his small law firm is the choice for blue-collar workers to get injured in Alpharetta, Georgia. Tell us, what did we look at? What did we discover? What kinds of aha moments were there?
I think the number one aha moment for me was sitting next to you while you were doing prompt live, and how specific you were, how much of a plan, obviously you've done this quite a bit, in terms of wanting to get a good result, you have to have a really great prompt. That was my number one aha moment where I was like, man, this guy knows what he's doing.
And it looks easy, doesn't it?
It does. It looks incredibly easy, which I know it's not. It's not.
And while we're eating, we're talking to our agent, just like another coworker, a really smart assistant, and saying, this is everything we know about Rick. This is what our goal is. Here are modules on how we like to do the work, but instead of telling it in a micromanagement way, we told it what the big goal was.
And very informally, as if you're talking to another person.
We literally spoke to it. We didn't type at it.
No, all the ands and ahs, and you just spoke, and like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy.
And what did you think of the output?
It was amazing. While you were working, I was working here. It was working the whole time, guided by your prompts and the detail it gave us, the format which you told it to give it, a nice presentation, diagrams, graphics. It wasn't just a bunch of text where you just have to just dig through it.
Yeah.
The output was just awesome. It was awesome.
And so I think what makes it awesome is that, because I like the token max, we got the thing to work for maybe 45 minutes. And it was just working. I was checking it, and it made a plan, and we could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We was going through the plan, research everything about him, look at the $20 million case, look at how he has experience on the insurance side, which makes him more effective on the workers' comp side, because then he's playing the paperwork game, fighting the insurance companies on behalf of these guys who were injured, all stuff, and just figure out, look at his social media, look at the competitors, figure out what exactly we need to do on the website, what content's missing, what are the trust marks he has that he's not leveraging, how do we tune the ads, the whole thing, which we have done many times before for many other attorneys or service firms where service is important, where all the roofers look the same, all the attorneys look the same as far as a consumer, right? A blue collar consumer, maybe they don't speak English, as far as they can tell, which lawyer do I pick, right? How do we stand out to them?
Who can I trust?
Yeah. And so when he has the trust of a lot of Spanish speaking clients, for example, then other folks who speak Spanish and they type ChatGPT in Spanish and ask for help, ChatGPT can see, oh, Rick has worked with all these other Spanish speaking folks and there's clear, specific stories, so ChatGPT can make that recommendation, or Claude or Grok or Gemini or whoever it is. And watching it work through all of that, which maybe burned a few dollars of tokens, so that's the labor fee that we pay. And Rick said, it looked easy. We're eating while it's working. We're checking in on other things. In the same way that he can say, it looks easy because you can see this masterful output being done. His clients, or people like me, can look at Rick and say, the way you handled the whole process with the insurance company, and I'm sure there's all kinds of hoops and things to navigate, but when you have someone who's a pro that knows what they're doing, they just make it look easy. They've done it many times.
And I describe it as you're navigating a ship. You have control over the sails, but as long as your client knows that there's a plan and you want to get there, the finish line, you may have to make a few turns or course correct, but there's a plan and there's a strategy to do that. And all the while providing good service, being responsive, being kind and empathetic and listening. Sometimes it's just about listening, really, honestly. That's the main thing.
Isn't it crazy? There's all the skill, but the soft side of listening and caring and set expectations. And for example, on behalf of Rick, Ethan and I and the other folks are fighting Google to try to get him to show up when people go into Google Maps, or, hey, I need an attorney, right? I got in a car accident, or whatever it might be. And just like he said, you can't control the wind. Same thing here. We can't control the AI. We can't control what LinkedIn and YouTube and Google Ads, what they do. But what we can do is demonstrate and pretty much guarantee that we're going to put in our best effort and we're going to diligently work towards the thing. And there's a whole process. Someone gets injured, they're not going to get the settlement check tomorrow. And so as long as we can see where we are in the process, helping everyone understand what has to happen, because when you work with a client, there's things that you do, there's things you need from them, there's some coordination that has to happen to eventually change the sales or adjust course, using your analogy. And what I find interesting, because we're here at a digital marketing conference, is that people are using AI to chat and generate documents. And we generated a document. Arguably, I think our documents are better because our documents are designed for action. Our documents, so that agent already updated our project management system, Basecamp, with the list of all the different things. It already created a bunch of tasks, and other people have to follow up on the things that need to happen.
And designed for human eyes, where there's no good in a document that no one's going to want to read because it just looks so dense. And it was laid out very visually appealing. Someone would be like, okay, this looks good, I can go through it, versus, oh, I don't want to go look at that.
Yeah. It's crazy how even just simple formatting things, like Rick mentioned, like green is good and red is bad. These things are good and these things are bad. Okay, that makes sense.
And there's always, from day one, there's going to be curveballs. There's curveballs in a case with an injured client. We've had some with Facebook.
Yeah.
And I've met with Ethan and Daniel, and we fix those, and it's a team process. And I like being involved because it's obviously like my business, but it's great being in a collaborative space where, okay, here's the problem, let's attack it, let's fix it.
Yeah. And then the transparency to publish exactly how we do it, so people know that like the stuff that we're doing or like the stuff that you're doing is not like a magic secret one thing that we do, the secret document we have, or the secret phrase we say to the insurance companies. And like driving leads, for example, is really just, it's a boring, mundane process with lots and lots of little steps along the way to eventually get to the point where things are working, and then we can chill out and get the maintenance mode. But we have to get to that point before we can then say, okay, now we're maintaining.
And really the only secret might be just experience, just having done it, failed, tried it again, failed. I know that's been the case for me. So you get to where you are by failing and succeeding. And experience is what gets you there.
Optimization, because I worked on the other side the same way you worked on the insurance side, and now you're on the other side as the attorney. What kinds of insights do you have from being on the other side and now playing both sides?
So that's a good question. In fact, I had lunch with a colleague not too long ago, and we discussed just that, is that we see certain attorneys that have only represented injured workers, injured people, which is fine. But when you have experience on both sides, you can gauge, and your gut can tell you whether what opposing counsel that's representing the insurance company is saying passes the sniff test or not. Or you may know, I think what's really happening here is an issue with the adjuster. And someone who's maybe just represented injured workers doesn't have that experience of being in those rooms with those insurance adjusters, having those conversations about exposure. You can sniff, and that experience helps you, like, okay, I think the real issue here is not what this attorney's telling me, it's really this other issue, this bigger issue with their claims adjuster. And that helps me say, okay, we need to switch tactics here and go this route, because that experience it's invaluable.
So I'm sure your clients, let's say they're Spanish speaking, they got injured, they're in the Atlanta area, they want to know, what are you doing to maximize the settlement that I get from the insurance company and to get me my settlement as fast as possible?
So a lot of it is, and again, a lot of people in the Hispanic community, some may be documented, some might not. And there's trepidation. There's a lot of people that are afraid to even bring a claim because they're afraid, can I bring one? Is it legal for me to bring one? Will I get in trouble? So there's a lot of, right or wrong, there's a lot of discussions, and a lot of people are afraid to step forward. And so them just contacting you is a big deal sometimes because they're afraid. They're afraid, look, I got hurt. I didn't want to say anything. I kept working, but it just got worse. And now I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. What happens there? So these are all questions that we see day in and day out. And my job is to protect them, even more protection, because sometimes these people can be exploited both before they were injured and then afterwards, using sometimes their immigration status against them. My job is to say, look, in Georgia, that does not affect your ability to bring a claim against the insurance company. You were working, you were injured. There's duties that the insurance company and the employer have to provide you with medical care, to provide you with income benefit checks if you can't work. And so a lot of it is just education and saying, look, you should not be afraid because the law can't protect you in these instances. I'm here to be your advocate. And so a lot of it is just being almost like a therapist saying, look, here's the legal part, but also I know you're worried about X, Y, and Z. And here's things we can do to protect you. And again, navigate that ship. So at the end, nothing's gonna ever compensate you fully for what happened to you. But so you can get out of the system, the workers' comp system in Georgia, with some tax-free money in your pocket, turn this page and move on, go to work somewhere else, and you've hopefully had the best medical treatment possible. So you may not be 100%, but you're as good as you're gonna get, and move on and switch to a different chapter in your life, and hopefully this doesn't happen again.
So if I'm an undocumented worker in Atlanta, that doesn't disqualify me or get me in trouble?
No. The thing in Georgia's an at-will employment state, so any person can get fired for almost any reason. Granted, if people suspect that you may be undocumented, it may put you at a bigger risk of getting fired, but I always tell people this. If you may get fired anyway, you're much better off having an attorney there on day one or day two protecting you versus 6 months later you get fired, oh, now I want an attorney. Sometimes it could be too late. And so time really is of the essence, and if you're worried about losing your job or paying for your medical treatment, you got to contact an attorney. It doesn't have to be me, but you need someone on your side, because guess what? These insurance companies and these businesses, they've got a team of lawyers on their side. So you need someone on your side to help protect you and your interests, your body, your treatment, your wages.
But I don't think I can afford an attorney. Do you only win when I win?
So that's the thing. You don't owe me, you don't pay me any money out of your pocket. The only time I get paid is if I get you a settlement at the end of the case. In Georgia, it's capped at 25%. So if it's a workers' comp case, whether you hire me or some other workers' comp attorney, the max is 25% of the settlement. And what the money you get is tax-free, by the way. Uncle Sam can't take it. But no, you don't pay me anything out of your pocket. I get paid basically from the insurance company funds that are paying you your settlement.
So what kinds of things might most people not understand about what it's like working with the insurance company to try to get the maximum policy limits or the maximum amount of money from the insurance company for that injury?
First of all, never accept the first offer. That's number one, because whatever they're offering you, that's probably just peanuts in terms of what they actually owe you. They were pro se, so they had no representation. And so sometimes it would be a Hispanic person that came in, and I was generally the only attorney that spoke Spanish in the defense firm. So I'd have to talk to this person, have this person across the table from me. I basically knew they were getting screwed, but I didn't represent that person. So my allegiance legally was to the insurance company and the employer. So I had to basically deal with this person and make sure that they understood what they were signing and that it was fair in terms of like they weren't being cheated. But there's so much that they didn't realize that if they just had an attorney representing them, they would have done so much better. But of course, at that point, I represent insurance companies. I felt kind of dirty about it, right? And so after 5 years of representing insurance companies, I said, I'm done, never again.
Isn't that an incredible story where it just feels weird? You're trying to get people who got injured to sign for as little as possible. They have to agree and they understand, okay, this is what I'm going to get, but maybe they're in a difficult situation and they need the money, or they don't realize what they really should be getting for that.
And I was there basically to help translate or interpret what the document said, make sure they understood it, because they have to understand it, right? And so even though they understood what they were signing and it was legal, right? Was it fair?
But they're not educated. They don't
know.
And 99.9% of us have no idea, because we haven't been through that situation and we're not adjusters. We don't know what the law is. Is there some kind of table that says if you have this, you lose one finger, here's how much that's worth based on?
You can look it up, what your body is worth, at least in Georgia, right? So you can look up an arm is 225 weeks of benefits, same thing for leg. Your whole body's worth 300 weeks of benefits. If your rate is, let's say, $250 a week, multiply that out, you can calculate how much you're worth, basically, which is a sad statement in and of itself.
That's weird that the government is valuing what your pinky's worth versus what your brain is worth.
And the crazy thing that in workers' comp in Georgia, so if you have a different claim, like a negligence claim where you leave your house and you get hit by a truck, that kind of claim you can get lost wages, your bills, and pain and suffering. Workers' comp, you get 0 for pain and suffering. That's the biggest injustice, is that, have you had pain? Of course. Have you had suffering? Yes. Do you get paid for that? Nada.
What if I'm an Uber driver?
So if you're an Uber driver, so for workers' comp, basically most of these cases, they're independent contractors. And so you can't, there'd be no claim there for workers' comp. And so that's something we come across a lot, is that, hey, I was injured, I was working, but you're not technically an employee. So to recover workers' comp benefits, you have to be an employee. Independent contractors are not eligible for workers' comp benefits.
What are some interesting things in what you do day to day?
The interesting thing is that a lot of the cases are very similar, but there's the little differences, right? In terms of something, a story I like to tell a lot is surveillance, right? Surveillance is a big deal where, in most of the surveillance we see is not like the stuff in the news, like this person was like out there claiming that they were paralyzed and they're out doing or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very just, the person was at Publix and they were lifting up some bag, or they should have been lifting, whatever. But I once had a case where this client of mine was caught on surveillance, and the insurance company was just so sure, we got your guy on surveillance, we're going to file a fraud case against him and all this stuff because he was getting benefits. I presented to my client, I'm like, oh man, like this, really? I thought this guy was really hurt. And if my client is lying to me, I'm the first person that wants to know, because I want to say goodbye. Yeah. And my client saw the videos, that's not me. I was like, what do you mean it's not you? It looks just like you. That's my brother. I have a twin. So the old evil twin, right? And it turned out this was the guy. We brought him to a meeting and we said, here's the brother. And then their case basically went because they thought they got us and they didn't. So the old evil twin on the video.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But if this client didn't have you, would it have gone so smoothly?
No, not at all. Not at all.
They wouldn't know how to navigate the whole legal system.
No, the insurance company has a lot of power. That's just the way it is. And if someone doesn't have an attorney on their side, they're just going to get squashed like a bug.
What do people need to know about the insurance company that a lawyer can, like you, knows how to navigate?
Basically what you're entitled to and what you're not, because they're not going to tell you. When a claims adjuster contacts you and wants to do a recorded statement, number one, don't do it. Number two, it's not their duty they're not representing you, right? So it's not their duty to tell you you're entitled to be paid for mileage. They're not entitled to tell you what the max compensation rate is in Georgia. And so the number one thing is you don't know what you don't know. In order to find out what that is, you need to contact a professional, a lawyer who practices in your state, who knows the laws and says, hey, here's the stuff that you know, right? And here's the stuff that you don't know. And sometimes that list is very long, right? And so a lot of it is education, listening, but also educating the client. And in terms of, okay, now we're on the same page, here's the way forward. And sometimes it's like being a therapist sometimes.
Rick, what do you think about people who are pro se, meaning like they're using ChatGPT to be their lawyer?
So every now and then I'll have a client say, I Googled this and I say, just hold on 1 second. Does Google have a law degree? So I have a law degree, but even more important than that, I've practiced for X number of years. Now it's 22 years. And so I appreciate that you are curious about the laws and about your case, but you can't rely on ChatGPT or Google for this thing, right? So I tell people, like, look, if you want to look certain things up, great. But if you want real help, an actual person to listen to your specific facts of your case, how the law applies, you need to talk to an actual attorney.
So we all have used ChatGPT to ask it questions about stuff to learn, because it's always a lot of fun. And usually it gives the right information, but we all know sometimes it gives the wrong information. But even more than that, which is called a hallucination, but even more than that, ChatGPT is only going to answer the question you asked. And if a trained attorney with 22 years of experience can say, oh, but what about this and what about that, and ask you other questions, that might materially change what the response would be. And the ChatGPT is not going to ask you, oh, but here's some other questions I would ask you before I can give you a good answer.
I've had clients come to me with a workers' comp case, right? And then I've listened to what they've said, and I've said, you do realize you have two cases, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? You have a workers' comp case against your employer, but what happened to you was caused by a third party. So you also have a separate personal injury case. And I've had cases where the person had no clue, right? And so I've had cases where the workers' comp case that they came for me for settled for, let's say, $100,000, right? And the separate PI case that they had no idea about until they came to me and I told them settled for 3 times that. And so they wouldn't have known that unless they went to an attorney. The attorney listened to them, wrote down all their information, and said, okay, here's the plan for your workers' comp case, but also you have this whole other case you didn't even know about. And so sometimes, like you said, it's not about the question you ask, because you may not be asking the right question or all the right questions yet to what you need, benefit you the most.
A lot of folks, I imagine, they get injured, and if you're like me, it's like, I don't want to go to the doctor, that's expensive, I don't have money.
Yeah.
Does that factor into how much money I can receive getting treatment?
So a lot of people say, I'm okay, I'm fine. And number one, if you're not feeling fine, don't say fine to your doctor. Is going to write it down and it's going to say it in the medical records. All right, so if you are not feeling fine and you're like, I don't know, I guess I'm okay, go to the doctor anyway. Get checked out. Hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're okay and it's nothing big.
Yeah.
But so many people say, I told my employer I was fine, or I didn't want to go in the ambulance or go to the, and then 3 days later, which we've heard, it's probably happened to you, you get in an accident and you're fine, the adrenaline's
at the
pumping.
moment, yeah.
And then 2 days later, you wake up like, what? I feel like I got hit by a truck. You did 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And you said you were fine 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So if you have any doubt, just go get checked out. If you get injured at work, your employer has to pay for that clinic visit.
Yeah.
Get checked out. Anything with the spine especially, get an MRI, because that's going to show a lot on there.
Yeah.
Better to get checked out, and hopefully there's nothing there. But if something's there, then you want to get it addressed and treated.